Junagadh Nawab's accession to Pakistan. In Junagadh's accession to Pakistan on 15th August, Patel saw the first danger sign for splitting India again. He stated, "After partition, we had a huge problem. Those who partitioned the country had mental reservations. They thought that this partition would not the last word, and they started the game immediately thereafter. Among Kathiawad states, they went to Junagadh and got its accession to Pakistan. We woke up in time, and those who tried to play the game saw that we were not sleeping. In Junagadh, Patel was presented with a fait accompli. Mountbatten recognized Junagadh as Pakistan territory. This was Mountbatten, who was always trying to help Pakistan. In his report to the king, my chief concern as Governor General was to prevent Government of India from committing itself on Junagadh issue to an act of war against what was now Pakistan territory. My own physical presence as Governor General of India was the best insurance against an actual outbreak of war with Pakistan." Mountbatten confessed to Nehru, "Pakistan is in no position even to declare war. Since I happen to know that their military commanders have put it to them in writing that a declaration of war with India can only end up in the inevitable and ultimate defeat of Pakistan. Mountbatten's role in Junagadh was against India's interest. He had no control over Junagadh's actions, nor over Pakistan's. He nevertheless assumed that he could use his position as Governor General in averting a war with Pakistan by binding India to three conditions: reference of Junagadh to UNO, preventing Indian troops from entering Junagadh territory, and an offer of holding a plebiscite in Junagadh. Reluctantly, Patel agreed to a plebiscite, even when Jinnah had not asked for it. He rejected the first two. The first would have given Pakistan locus standi in Junagadh and thereby internationalized the issue, as it had happened later in the case of Kashmir. Mountbatten failed to consider that in Junagadh's accession to Pakistan would lie Jinnah's tactical shrewdness. He must have seen, or if he did not, it certainly turns out that the accession of Junagadh to Pakistan placed India in an acute dilemma from which any escape could be turned down to the advantage of Pakistan. There were also danger of Pakistan securing foothold in Junagadh by landing troops through its port of Veraval. Once on Junagadh soil, India could not have dislodged Pakistan from there. Mountbatten faced opposition not from Nehru but from Patel with unfailing determination. Noted here is not from Nehru. Patel refused to oblige Mountbatten in two respects. He objected forcibly dragging of our 80% Hindu population of Junagadh into Pakistan by accession in defiance to all democratic principles. He also was concerned about accession setting up a dangerous precedent. Junagadh's accession, according to Campbell Johnson, was a direct challenge to the essential validity of the whole accession policy, with disastrous effects both upon Kathiawad states and upon the Hyderabad negotiations. What supported India's claim was that Junagadh, unlike Jodhpur, had no continuity with Pakistan by land. though it could establish a direct link with Karachi through the port of Veraval, just 300 miles away. Landlocked Junagadh was separated from Pakistan by territories of Kutch, Baroda, Navanagar, Porbandar, and Gondal. Junagadh's map, according to H.V. Hodgson, had absurd complexity. Fragments of other states were embedded in Junagadh, and fragments of Junagadh were embedded in other states, while an arm of Junagadh separated one substantial outlying portion of the Maratha state of Baroda from another and from the sea. Patel called Junagadh's accession to Pakistan an act of perfidy. As early as 11th April 1947, the Muslim ruler had camouflaged his real intentions by stating that what Junagadh preeminently stands for is the solidarity of Kathiawad and would welcome the formation of a self-contained group of Kathiawad states. He deliberately omitted any reference to Pakistan. His Diwan, Abdul Qadir Muhammad Hussain, categorically repudiated on 22nd April allegations that Junagadh was thinking of joining Pakistan. He left for Europe in May for medical treatment, handing over the charge to Shah Nawaz Bhutto, whose son Zulfikar Ali Bhutto later became Prime Minister of Pakistan. Nabi Baksh, Junagadh's representative at the Rulers' Conference on 25th July, told Mountbatten that his intention was to advise the Nawab to join India. He had also given a similar impression to Patel when he called upon him, as also to the Jam Sahib of Navanagar, his neighbor. Junagadh had, on the other hand, secretly recruited to the state's forces Balochis and Hurs from Pakistan, and a decision had been taken that the local Bahauddin College was to be affiliated to the Sindh University in Karachi. According to H.V. Hodgson, handling of Junagadh was full of traps, and there was good reason to suspect that some of those traps had been deliberately laid by Pakistan. Hodgson believes that Bhutto obeyed Jinnah's advice given on 16 July to keep out under all circumstances until 15th August. With the termination of paramountcy, Bhutto would have been entitled to take an independent decision. Meanwhile, Jinnah assured Bhutto that he would not allow Junagadh to starve, as Veraval is not far from Karachi. This was in response to Bhutto's fears that Junagadh stands all surrounded by Hindu rulers and their territories, British Indian Congress and provinces. Bhutto's hopes lay in the big belief we are of course connected by sea with Pakistan. If geographical position by land was fairly considered, Kutch, Jamnagar and other territorial states adjoining Junagadh and its geographically situation should be considered connected with Pakistan, as they once in the past actually formed a part of Sindh. Though the Muslim population of Junagadh is nearly 20%, non-Muslims form 80%. 7 lakh Muslims of Kathiawad survived because of Junagadh. I consider that no sacrifice is too great to preserve the prestige, honor and rule of His Highness and to protect Islam and the Muslims of Kathiawad. The Jinnah-Bhutto conspiracy had dangerous implications. If Junagadh were allowed to accede to Pakistan, VP Menon thought that its detachment would turn it into the hothouse plant with no powers of survival. What worried Menon most was the immediate potentialities of turmoil when stability was crying need of the hour. The Nawab's action would have undesirable effects on law and order in Kathiawar as a whole. It would extend the communal trouble to areas where at present there was peace. There were also fears that it would encourage the intractable elements in Hyderabad. Junagadh's accession to Pakistan had been kept a closely guarded secret. Even Mountbatten, as the crown representative, was kept in the dark by political department, the residents and the agents keeping mum. The government of India, which had no inkling about it, found out on 17th August from newspaper reports. On inquiry, Junagadh simply confirmed the news. Pakistan, having no yet information and formally accepted the accession, they had not done it. India moved into the matter constitutionally by inviting the attention of the Pakistan High Commissioner to India to the invalidity of accession on the grounds that Junagadh's geographical continuity to India, the composition of its population, and the need of consulting the views of the people are there, are important, are to be considered. Pakistan remained discreetly silent. Even a reminder sent on 6 September evoked no response. Jinnah expected that Mountbatten would not let India take and precipitate action, while Nehru would show hesitancy in taking a firm decision, pursuing his usual policy of soft peddling. On Nehru's suggestion, a telegram addressed to Pakistan Prime Minister Liaquat Ali indicated that India's willingness to abide by the people's verdict. Lest India's message was ignored like earlier ones, the telegram was personally carried by Ismay to Karachi. He also carried Mountbatten's message to Jinnah that if Pakistan accepted Junagadh's accession, it would lead to dispute between the two dominations. And if Jinnah wanted any state to accede to Pakistan, he could not have chosen a worse state. Pakistan merely telegraphed on 13 September confirming acceptance of Junagadh's accession. The Junagadh crisis, according to Campbell Johnson, erupted as if a wholly unexpected quarter and in the welter of great events immediately before and after the transfer of power. Junagadh was simply overlooked. Patel rejected Nehru's suggestion that it would be desirable for us to send a message to the British government about Junagadh affair, with the polite comment, I am not quite sure whether we need to say anything to the British government at this stage. Junagadh's decision sent a wave of indignation and protest among people and rulers of Kathiawar, Nawanagar, Bhavnagar, Morvi, Mondal, Porbandar, and Wankaner, all of whom strongly condemned it. The Junagadh affair made the rulers turn to Patel to handle the situation. The Maharaja of Dhrangmandra asked the Nawab of Junagadh in a personal letter to reconsider the decision, as it was opposed to geographical compulsions and was against the wishes of the people, adding that failure to reverse it would cause disruption of Kathiawar. The Nawab's reply was, the Indian Independence Act did not and does not require a ruler to consult his people before deciding on accession. I think we are making unnecessary fetish of an argument of geographical continuity. Even then, this is sufficiently provided by Junagadh's sea coast with several ports which can keep connection with Pakistan. The Jam Sahib rushed to New Delhi to tell Patel that the rulers and the people of Kathiawad were greatly agitated over Pakistan's attempt to encroach on Indian territory, and it would be difficult to restrain the people of Kathiawad from retaliating, and that if the government of India did not take immediate and effective steps, the Kathiawad states would lose faith in the will and ability of the Indian Dominion to carry out all the obligations arising out of their accession to India. Mountbatten and Ismay seemed concerned not so much with Pakistan's perfidy as with how to deter India from any physical action. Mountbatten had long talks with Nehru and Patel. He easily carried conviction with Nehru. With Patel, he could not. According to Campbell Johnson, Mountbatten reiterated Ismay's thesis that the whole maneuver was almost certainly a trap and part of a wider campaign which Jinnah might be expected to launch for the express purpose of presenting Pakistan to the world as the innocent, weak state threatened by the ruthless aggressor. This did not impress Patel. World opinion, though important, did not weigh much with him. He was concerned with saving Junagadh from falling into the hands of Jinnah, and if he withheld action, it was in deference to the wishes of Mountbatten and Nehru. Two developments hastened the crisis. One was Liaquat Ali's reassertion on 25th September that the Nawab had every right to accede to Pakistan regardless of the state's territorial location. The other related to the Nawab's declaration of accession of Babriabad and Mangrol to India was invalid, claiming that both as integral parts of Junagadh territory. Junagadh refused to withdraw its troops sent to Babriabad. For Patel, it was an act of aggression which must be met by a show of strength with readiness in the last resort to use it. Mountbatten suggested reference to the UNO. Patel rejected it on the ground that Junagadh was not a disputed matter, but was a case of blatant interference on the part of Pakistan. Reference to the UNO would have internationalized the issue, as happened in the case of Kashmir later. Patel also rejected Mountbatten's other suggestion that the Central Reserve Police and not the Indian Army should be entrusted with the task of occupation of Babriabad and Mangrol. To Patel, this meant taking unnecessary risks. He was firm that the occupation and the operation should be handled by the Indian Army. In the Maharaja of Gondal's view, the worsening situation posed threat to the peace and tranquility of the whole Kathiawad. Without violation of Junagadh's territory, Indian troops under a newly created command, the Kathiawad Defence Force, were deployed in the adjoining states with a view to creating and a steadying effect all over the Kathiawad. Babriabad and Mangrol were occupied on 1st November. At the same time, under the leadership of Smal Das Gandhi, a provisional government was formed with headquarters at Rajkot. Over 2.5 months, political stalemate and economic stagnation and reduced Junagadh's ability and its finances to near bankruptcies, resulting in steep fall in the state's revenues and leading to a fast deteriorating food situation. Since no help arrived from Pakistan, the Nawab was forced to flee to Karachi together with his family. Many of his dogs, he was very fond of dogs, and all the cash and negotiable assets of the state treasury. From Karachi, the Nawab authorized Bhutto to use his judicious discrimination as the situation may demand. Bhutto wrote to Jinnah on 27th October telling him of the fading of Muslim ardor for accession. He also said, "Today our brethren are indifferent and cold. Muslims of Kathiawad seem to have lost all enthusiasm for Pakistan." Bhutto called a meeting of Junagadh State Council on 5th November, which decided the position arising out of the economic blockade and other complications, external agitation, and internal administrative difficulties make it necessary to have a complete reorientation of the state policy and a readjustment of the relations with the two dominions, even if it involves reversal of the earlier decision to accede to Pakistan. In pursuance of the States Council's resolution, Bhutto started negotiating with Smal Das Gandhi on 7th November for handing over power. It was supported by the Muslim Jamaat of Junagadh. Bhutto therefore told the Indian Regional Commissioner of Kathiawad, N.M. Butch, that the government of India could take over the administration. At that point, Liaquat Ali, the Pakistan's Prime Minister, threw a spanner in the works with the statement that since Junagadh had acceded to Pakistan, neither the Diwan nor the ruler could negotiate a temporary or permanent settlement with India, and that it was a violation of Pakistan's territorial rights and a breach of international law. Mountbatten and his advisers had hoped that Patel would be satisfied for a decision on the occupation of Junagadh itself to lie in the pending tray until greater problems were safely resolved. Patel played his game. Mountbatten was tactfully left in the dark. By the time he discovered what was happening, troops were already on the move. According to Campbell Johnson, all these developments were only brought to Mountbatten's notice late in the evening. It was the first time since the transfer of power that the government had carried out a major act of policy without fully consulting or notifying him in advance for the event. He feels this may be due to Patel's and V.P. Menon's desire to spare him embarrassment. Due to Patel's firm handling of Junagadh crisis, the storm blew over in no time. India took over the Junagadh administration on 9th November. On the 13th, Patel visited Junagadh. Addressing a mammoth public meeting, he assured the people that India would abide by their wishes, and then dramatically, by way of oratorical flourish, he asked the audience to indicate whether they wished the state to accede to India or Pakistan. Over 10,000 hands were immediately raised in favor of accession to India. Patel also did the same, plain speaking. The action of the Nawab of Junagadh would be a lesson to those who are persisting in their desire and attachment to an authority with which they have no natural ties. The state is no property of a single individual. Paramountcy has lapsed, since certainly not by the efforts of the princes, but by those of the people. A plebiscite, as Patel had promised, was held on 20th February 1948. Out of the total of 2,01,470 registered voters, 1,90,870 exercised their franchise. Only 91 cast their vote in favor of accession to Pakistan. A referendum was held at the same time in Mangrol, Manavadar, Babriabad, Bantwa, and Sadargarh, which showed that out of 31,434 votes cast in these states, only 39 went in favor of Pakistan. Jocelyn Hennessy of the Sunday Times London and Douglas Brown of the Daily Telegraph, who were in Junagadh at that time, confirmed that they could find little fault with the manner in which the referendum was conducted. Patel was the recipient of congratulations from many quarters for his crowning success, especially the princes who praised him for his noble efforts in achieving a unique victory over Junagadh without causing loss of life and property. All the Kathiawar princes and people felt grateful to Patel for preserving the integrity and unity of Kathiawar by his timely and swift action.